Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at modding Oblivion Remastered on the Steam Deck and if it's worth it, if it works, how's performance. So, I could not find a lot of information about this online or on YouTube and forums. I looked even before I bought a copy of the game because I wanted to mod it on the Steam Deck, could not find really anything that answered my questions. So I just ended up taking the plunge, buying a copy myself, and messing around with it. So I do have 16 mods that I've added to the Oblivion Remastered on the Steam Deck. And you do this by going in your data files. There's a lot of tutorials online about how to do that, and most of them will work on the Steam. Well, pretty much all of them that are doing it on the Windows version will work on the Steam Deck version. The steps are the same. You just have to be careful with some of the mods. Be sure to read the instructions because they might be different depending on what version of the game you're playing, whether it's Game Pass or Steam. And were a couple mods I encountered where people struggled to install them because of Linux on the Steam Deck. They didn't know how to handle the modding instructions with Linux because the mod author didn't include those instructions. But for the most part, I didn't have any problems because the steps are mostly the same. And for those couple mods where there's confusion about how to install it on Steam Deck, there's a lot of people that are in the forums asking. I just skip over those mods. I just find something else that is similar. It did seem to be an issue with one particular anti-stutter mod. I don't remember the name of the mod, but it is the most popular one. It's probably got about 800,000 downloads on Linux, oh, not Linux, but Nexus. So that one, if you go in the forum, there'll be people asking about it on Steam Deck. Some people get it to work, some people don't. But I found one that works with the Steam Deck. I'm assuming it works because I haven't had any issues. And it's Optimax Performance, Stutter FPX Latency Fix. I mean, this list will be in the description below. But nothing is too intensive in this list. I did have one mod that I took out, and that was denser foliage. Now, that one caused a lot of stutter, a lot of frame drops, and a lot of ghosting and just dragging. The game could not render that very well at all on the Steam Deck. But there are different versions of that, so I might try it again, but I'm not too interested in that. It was just one thing to see if it would work, and it just did not work at all to the point where it wasn't even worth recording because the screen was just not moving at all. So just be mindful of those mods that add things to the overworld because the overworld seems to be very heavy on the system, if that makes sense. I'm not an expert or a tech expert, but the frame rates and all that just seem to just drop in the overworld. And there's a lot of videos that are smarter than me that explain all the technical aspects of why that is. But I would just say be mindful of those kind of mods that are gonna add things like grass and foliage to the overworld. But these 16 mods are pretty basic and not very performance intensive. I think the biggest one it would be Classic Menu Remastered, and the rest of them are smaller than that. This is, I would say, about less than 300 megabytes of storage space, probably less than that, because the biggest one is the main menu video. And I will say this about videos. If you want to do a video, or rather a menu replacer, it is in a different spot than the other mods. So this is the location of the data files, and this is where you would be installing your mods. I don't know how Mod Organizer 2 would work on the Steam Deck. I could not get it to work. But then again, I've been modding with data files for like a week, so I'm not the person to ask about that. But I tried to add Oblivion Remastered to Mod Organizer 2. I couldn't get it, and I couldn't get Morrowind either on the Steam Deck. So I'm not sure, I might be doing something incorrect, but anyways, when you want to do a menu replacer, if it's like a movie, it needs to go in this file right here. And in modern. And the mod will have instructions on what it wants you to do. But the copies, I made those copies of the original, not the original, but Oblivion Remastered's default menu, and replaced it with a remake of the 2006 main menu. So you have to come in this area of your data files, where the rest of it is going to be somewhere else. But with that said, oh, and one more thing. Be sure that I would recommend this highly. Make a folder called mods if you're doing packs. If anything needs to go in this packs folder, which is in content, right here, make a folder that says mods and put it in here. Because if there's an issue, it will be such a pain to figure out if you have a bunch of mods right here. It just is cleaner and it will prevent a disaster, because these are actually the game itself right here, information for the game itself. So you don't want to delete any of that. But if I come in here, I can mess around with this stuff in here because this is just mods. But of course, always be mindful when you mess around with mods mid-game. So we're going to launch and see if the mods make a good difference of how the performance does, and if it's worth the time. Let's see what's going on here. Or there it is. I'm more conservative with the amount of mods that I add to any game of mine. I think the highest I have is Skyrim with 100. But I would say if you can get it to work, if it just works, as Todd Howard would say, then just it works. So, but I definitely don't want to go over 20 or 30 with Oblivion Remastered. I didn't see any more that I wanted because the modding scene's still early for this game. But this is the menu replacer that recreates the old version of the menu. And another thing that is nice about the Steam Deck version is that if you have a wireless Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, it will automatically detect that and default to those controls. So I have a save in a couple different places. But I'll show you what it looks like inside a building first, and then we'll move on to the overworld. The inside buildings doesn't really seem to be an issue. But once I got outside with the foliage mod, it really started to drag. So, rest in peace. But the controls are keyboard controls, but the one caveat is if you go over here to system, it has the Steam Deck controls. And I don't know if this can be changed or not on the Steam Deck version, but it is default keyboard controls. So if you need to do anything with the keyboard, maybe that's what it's gonna be. So there is one mod that changes some. I wouldn't say it's a texture mod. I don't think that's what it is technically, but it sort of reshades the world space. It's the rabbit one at the top, but it's not. I don't know what the technical term would be for it, but it doesn't go in the texture file. It goes in the engine die, and that makes sense. But there was one crash that I had so far, and it was when the Emperor asked to choose a birth sign. The game crashed, but I did have a birth sign modifier mod, so I don't know if it was the game or the mod, but at the time I loaded up, it didn't have any issues. I always save often, which I never do. But we're gonna go from outside to inside and see what the changes are, or the difference rather. But you see that there's not a whole lot of lag with battle scenes. We can actually look at the technical. Let's see what are. There we are. So this is the settings that we have right now. The frame rate is low. It's set in at 30. I haven't tried to go higher than that. We can try that in a minute. These are the settings that we're currently on for the Steam Deck. All on the lower side for performance, because we're trying to make sure performance is better, or is as good as it can be. So I can actually take a look at the birth sign. So this NL is part of the mod. There is a mod that will remove NL from your mod, or all the mods that edit, because there's certain things that I don't know why, but it'll show this if you mod certain things, and you can take that out. I'm lazy. I don't feel like doing it, but it also lets me know that this is modded because I might forget. And if I see this NL, then I know that this content is modded. So this is the choose your birth sign rework. The name will be in the description. But there's all these different reworks for your birth sign. So I'm gonna stick with the mage, but it didn't crash. So I don't know if it was the mod or the game, actually. With that one crash I had the first time I loaded up. But the overworld is where there is the most stuttering and the most lag. So the inside's not too bad. And I went through that entire tutorial sequence and did not have really any problems. But now that we're outside, and this is also the Steam Deck is also docked onto a monitor, so you're seeing what I'm seeing on the monitor. So if you're interested in doing monitor gameplay, this is a preview of what that would look like. So there isn't a lot of stutter at all. I don't see anything, but then again, I'm not an expert, so these are just my anecdotes. I cannot explain the inner workings of the system. But I will say there is still some hiccups here and there, but for the most part, there's no problems. I think that the anti-stutter mod helped a lot, and taking away the foliage mod that I had also helps. I don't think a foliage mod really works well with the Steam Deck. But I did download one mod that is called Daedra Roam the Wilderness, and that one is a bit wild. Because as soon as you come out of the sewers, they're already around, so. First person? Let's see. Oh, that's just a band. Let me see if I can find the Daedra Roams the Wilderness mod. I also have a mod. It might have been a mistake, but I played this game enough times that it should be different now. Difficulty scale slider fix, and also a leveling modifier. I chose 0.5. It said for Souls fans. I've never played Dark Souls, so I don't think I understood what that means. Yeah. You don't really even get anything towards your level up. It might have been a mistake, but I'm gonna go with it. I downloaded 0.5 because everyone else did. Well, everyone else downloaded that one, so I should too. So that'll be fun. But, see, there's not a whole lot of huge stuttering. I don't even see any. I haven't noticed, but there could be some that I'm just not noticing. But I would definitely recommend some sort of stutter fix mod, even if you don't download any other mods. I think that the Steam Deck really benefits from something that will fix the fluctuations in the frame rate and the stutter. Ever since I downloaded this Optimax mod, I have not had stutter, and I took, as I said before, the other one out. But I also have a HUD mod, I think Minimalistic Compass, and Classic HUD, I think that's what it's called, it'll be in the description, but very minimalistic mods that aren't heavy on the performance or don't tax performance too much. But I'm gonna walk to Wayne and Priory and just let you take a look at how it performs during the walk, so you can see in real time how it looks with mods. And we'll see if there's any issues with performance, any major issues. Where the Daedra at? I had that mod on here. The Oblivion gates aren't even open yet, they're already out here. Yeah, there they are over there. It's kind of scary. I wanted the game to feel like there is actually a crisis going on. That's one thing about Skyrim and Oblivion in the vanilla. I just never felt like there was a war going on in Skyrim, or the apocalypse in Oblivion. You can just kind of wander around, and there's not really a lot going on except for the gates here or there. guess I just wanted to be scared. They're still chasing me. Oh my god. I also did a climate change. Not climate. YouTube might get me for that, but it just changes the weather for each area, and it changes the percentages of each weather event based on, I'm assuming, lore. I think that's what it said in the description, but I don't remember. So we're gonna go inside and just see the inside. That'll be about it for the video. Yes. They're still chasing. They're stuck on a tree? What's going on here? Jesus. Oh, here's some jank. It wouldn't be this game without some jank. They chased me all the way here. So here's an look at the inside of a building. I don't see that big of a difference, but it's not. There's no stutter or lag problem. That's the correct term for it.
I'm Brother Joffrey. What do you want?
But this is a quick look at what Oblivion Remastered on the Steam Deck looks like modded. I don't think it's impossible. Obviously, it's not impossible. I did it, but I don't think it will hurt to download at least a stutter mod that helps fix the stutter and the frame rates and all that. But I think smaller mods that don't do a lot to change the overworld or text performance, if that's the right term for it. And you can tell I'm a noob, but I don't have a lot of problems. I haven't seen any problems with the mods loading. If you just follow the instructions of the mods and you put them in the right place, I haven't had any issues with any of them. So that's about it. Thanks for watching and see you later.